So what I did is I set up a spreadsheet, and it's called Zapier Central Tax Return Tracker. And I had ChatGPT create some dummy data for this. So it's just a Google Sheet, and it's got a client ID column, client name column, client email, tax year, and then it has a status column. So complete, waiting on client, not started. Got a client or a column for tracking the status of the payment, and then one for what we're waiting on from the client, and a bunch of other stuff, right? But that's the important thing is here we have a tracker, status of the return, and what we're waiting on. And I went into Zapier Central and I created a new bot called Tax Return Tracker. And I gave this bot a behavior called Tax Status Lookup. And the instructions are, when I receive an email inquiring about the status of a tax return, look up the email sender in the Tax Return Tracker Google Sheet. If you can find the email of the sender in the Tax Return Tracker, draft a reply in the same conversation and include the following: a friendly greeting, an acknowledgement of their request, the status of their federal and state returns, and anything we are waiting on from the client. If you don't find the sender's email in the spreadsheet, do nothing. So the trigger is a new email in my Gmail account, and the actions it can do are looking up spreadsheet rows and creating a draft reply. So it can't auto-respond, it can only create the draft reply. And I also gave it the ability to use this spreadsheet as a data source.
And if you or your employee were to create this draft, you'd be opening 2 or 3 screens, a couple browser tabs, you'd be copying and pasting things, get them into the email.
Exactly.
It's a 15-minute job.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, probably a 45-minute job.
So, I ran this, and over on the right-hand side, if you're on YouTube, you can see the testing behavior, and it finds an email. I sent an email from my personal account to my work account, and I said, what did my email say? It said something like, "Hi, Blake, just checking in on the status of my tax return," right? We all get those. And so I can see here in the thread that the agent is parsing the email. It figures out that it's from Blake at blakeoliver.com. It looks up that email in the spreadsheet, and it finds the piece of data. It finds all the columns, and then it drafts an email reply. "Hi, Blake. Thank you for reaching out to check on the status of your tax return. Here is the current status." And then it says, "We're currently waiting on the following item from you, W-2 from your second job. Please send this to us as soon as possible so we can proceed." And it is in my inbox, or it's in my drafts, ready to send. There it is, already drafted.
So how long did it obviously take you to build this?
Well, a lot faster than the first one I did, because now I know how this app works.
Even if you add the hours you spent on the first one.
I don't know, like maybe a couple hours to learn it. To build this probably took like 30 minutes maybe.
Oh.
I had to make the spreadsheet, and I had to connect it, and I had to write the instructions and then test it. But yeah, it's not hard. It just takes a little practice. So my plan is I'm going to do this for everything. Anything where I'm like doing a repetitive answering a question from somebody, and I can connect this agent to a data source like a spreadsheet, and I can just automatically give them the information. Like, why wouldn't I automate that? It's trivial to do it because I don't have to code. I can just write in plain English what I want the agent to do. All it has to have access to is a data source, and it can create draft email replies. And it can watch every single email that comes in my inbox and try parsing it and try to answer it. So, the data sources are limited right now. You can use HubSpot, Airtable, Google Sheets, a Google Doc, Notion, or Tables, which is Zapier's custom database. But it looks like you can let them know if you want them to add more data sources. And I wouldn't be surprised if they add this, because the more data sources you have, right, the more powerful this becomes.
And it's easy, though, because the nice thing about Zapier is you can connect 2,500 or 3,000 apps to Google Sheets. So you could basically have whatever app and technology you're using. Right. Even if you're tracking all this in Excel, you just have a Zap that updates your Google Sheet, and then you connect to your Google Sheet. So your Google Sheets kind of is the true source. It's just a copy of your data wherever that data may exist. So as long as you can get something into Google Sheet, you have unlimited imagination of what you can do with that data.
Yeah. And then this AI agent can access that data. So think about your practice management software. Can you do an export to a Google Sheet? Maybe you could just have an admin do an export to a Google Sheet every day and just have that person's job is just to copy paste it basically into the Google Sheet. But like this could be really useful for a ton of CPAs and accountants and tax pros because a lot of them don't use practice management software. Most of them don't.
They're just tracking a spreadsheet like that.
Yeah, you're just tracking it in a spreadsheet. So if you already have a spreadsheet where you're tracking the status of all your clients or all your work or jobs, you could connect that to an AI agent in Zapier Central, and you could start doing this kind of stuff. And it's not limited to drafting emails. You can do anything that you can make a Zap to do. So that could be texting a client to remind them that you need a document.
Well, now you don't need all those quoting apps. You could just, what do you need done? They've sent a plain text email, and then you send an email back with the quote because you have a spreadsheet of all your services. It can kind of match it up and kick it back. So going by...
David, I just got to show you this. Like you can just use this internally, right? I could say, what is the status of Blake's return? And boom, it goes to the spreadsheet and it pulls the information that the federal return's ready for review, the state return's in progress, but the overall return status is waiting on the client. Okay,
And this is great, right? Because you as a manager or partner in the firm can get the information you want without having to get your employee to stop working to tell you the
exactly.
status.
And let's say you have a problem getting your team to update the spreadsheet. Well, you could have like a field in there that is last updated, or maybe there's a way to pull that automatically, like when a cell was last updated. And you could actually get this agent to bug your team every single day at a certain time to update the spreadsheet and tell them which clients that they have not updated recently. So I'm thinking about ways I can automate my job as the CEO of this company.